And I am now live. What's good, everybody? It's your host, Tenzin, of the SOS podcast. Dang, I forgot what my own show was called. Wow. But anyway, tonight we are having Mrs. Brittany Banks here on the live. She is the wife of Royal Banks, one of my great friends from the old neighborhood, if you know what I mean. Uh, so Oh, hey, Dre Cruz, what's going on? All right, already got a visitor. Follow Dre Cruz. She has some very good poetry. But anyway, back to our guest here. Yeah, so other than being my best friend's wife, she also studies. Well, she's got her master's now in the psychology realm. Hey, what's going on, Hakeem? We got KT Archer in the building as well. And so she got a master's in psychology. So I want to pick her brain on her thoughts on. And here she is in the live now. Oh my God! We're gonna pick her brain about her life, and just what got her into the whole mental health thing. Anyway, I sent her an invite, so I guess I'll just wait to see if she pops up. Well, hello
There we
there.
go. I was like, what is going on? You can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Oh yes, ma'am, I can.
Perfect.
Oh man, you saved the audience because like I don't know if you ever watched the previous episode or anything, but I do this thing where I just ramble on while I wait for the
Uh-huh.
guest. And I'm just
Oh,
liable to just say anything, because I'm just trying to keep myself talking.
I got you.
But
I'm
anyway,
here.
this is Brittany Banks. I already introduced you by name, but please
Mhm.
tell the audience a lot more.
I guess, what do you want to know? See, yeah, I'm Brittany. I'm from Georgia, born and raised. I went to school at Georgia State for my undergrad degree in psychology, Clayton State for my master's.
Woo,
Shout out
woo,
to Clayton State.
yes. I should
I
have worn
just
my
graduated.
Clayton
Yeah,
State Lakers shirt. Nah,
I
I
know.
fucked up. That's
I have a
okay.
sweatshirt, but it's too hot, so I skip all that.
Yeah,
But
man. Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
we
Keep
have someone
going.
else.
Oh, that's my
Oh
little
yeah,
brother, Brandon.
hello, little
How
brother
you do?
Brandon.
How you doing? How you doing? I'm sorry. I'm
I'm
sorry.
I'm doing well. No, you're fine. Yeah, I was living in Atlanta all my life. Recently relocated to Texas to be with my husband because after we were waiting for me to graduate before we united our lives together.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you graduated already. Okay, I'm
I
sorry about
did,
that. I'm over
yeah.
here
I
lying to the
no,
audience, talking about you got a master's in
I
psychology
do,
and
I
shit.
do, I
Oh, you
do,
do?
I do.
Oh,
I
okay. Oof.
graduated last year.
All right.
Uh,
All right.
Yeah, which caused me to move. And so, yes, and now I'm in the process of transitioning into that field. Prior to that, I was in the aviation industry. No experience, just
Flight
kind of
attendant.
vibe.
Yeah.
No,
You can say
I
flight.
wasn't a flight attendant.
Oh, okay.
I was actually in logistics for the company.
Oh,
So,
look at
ooh.
me. I'm a fucking sexist. Like there goes my woke card there.
everybody always assumed that I was a flight attendant, but no, I was not. I don't
Okay.
think I could
Okay.
handle that, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
I was gonna say there was like this video of like this white guy, this old white dude in a BK crown, and
uh-huh.
he was just shouting out racial slurs and stuff,
Oh
just
my
causing a
goodness.
ruckus. Because I guess like a black chick kneed him in the stomach, but
Oh,
he like it was during COVID too. Like he took his mask off, got right into that flight attendant's poor face. It was like, she need me in the stomach.
I
Just
think
like
I
all
actually
in her.
saw that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
about to say. I'm about to
He
say. I
got
think.
like kicked off or something like
Right.
Yeah, he
that.
got arrested. But if I was that flight
Yeah.
attendant, I'd have just been like, hey,
I
I'm
would have
taking
lost
a
it.
month-long vacation. Fuck this.
Mm-mm.
Like, as
Don't
soon
get
as
in
I
my face.
land,
Don't put your hands on me.
right. But anyway, man, go. I'm sorry for that tangent. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. You can ask me whatever. I'm pretty much giving my, you know, the spiel of what I do in my credentials.
Okay,
So
so
yeah.
like, were you one of those weirdo kids in high school who already knew that you was gonna like study psychology, or did it just sort of like dawn on you
I
like while you were?
did. I was a weirdo. I knew probably about the 10th grade that I wanted to go into the field. I didn't know exactly what route it would take me because initially I started this journey wanting to be a psychiatrist.
Hmm.
Not knowing anything about the field, I'm just like, they make the most money. That's what I want to do.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I knew I wanted to be involved. I've always had just a natural inclination to care for people and try to, be that person that they can lean on for advice if I have any. I don't know everything, so don't do that. And it was just, I gravitated towards it naturally. So, yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Okay. So you say you're just like you're naturally a helpful person. Like you want to, you know.
Yes, I am by nature. I don't like to see people suffering.
Right.
So if there's anything I can do, a resource I can point you at towards, or anything like that, I'm willing, more than willing, all the time.
So like, would you say that's sort of leading you towards the like? Do you want to go into the therapy route with psychology?
Oh,
Like, what do you want?
absolutely.
Okay.
My end goal is to have my own practice.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, one day also have a nonprofit that'll provide free counseling services and psychiatric needs to those who cannot afford to. Because let's be real, therapy can be expensive
Oh
if
yeah.
you don't have insurance. so
See, y'all be
I don't
charging
feel
200
like
an
it
hour.
should be. Some people do. I don't think I will go that far in my practice. But it depends. Some people, the specialties, they require a lot of hours, a lot of training. It's intense. And I honestly didn't get how or why therapists priced, their sessions X amount of $100 per hour until I went to school.
Mm. Yeah. All
that
the all
that
that
is
book
what
learning.
showed me. Mm, mm. It's more than that. It's you have to essentially just retrain your mind because most people think, oh, I want a therapist because I need advice. Therapists don't give advice.
Right.
We have to pull the answers out of you.
Right.
So it's essentially trying to help you get to your conclusion or your solution. And it takes skill. It does. It takes skill. It takes practice. I'm still learning. Um, and I think most therapists, we learn every day, every year. We have to continue our education and stuff like that. So it can be intense. So I get it why you're going to pay 100 plus an hour. I
Right.
totally get it.
And that's and I like that you pointed that out because that is like one of the biggest like misconceptions about therapy and what
Mm-hmm.
probably scares people from it is like, yeah, they're not going to tell you what to do. They're just,
No.
they're just helping you figure it out, but they're kind of
Right.
giving you the
Yeah.
tools, you know what I
Yeah, I feel
mean?
like most
Exactly.
people go in looking for like psychics pretty much. You know what I mean? It's like
And
Yeah.
that's who they run to, the psychics, because they
yeah,
The
just
same
need so
they
thing.
much help.
they
Yeah.
go in looking for psychics and then find out exactly what it is. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So but
I feel
no,
you.
no, that's cool that you pretty much do from an early age. There was a brief point in my life where I thought I was going to pursue the psychology route.
Hmm.
But then I took Psych 101 in college, and I was like, oh no, that's okay. I don't feel like doing
I mean,
that.
the subject
See,
itself is so interesting because,
it is.
being in criminal justice, I had to take like what, at least two courses of it. But it's
Okay.
amazing what you learn, like just the different fields
Right.
and like, and as you said, just the different like methods. So like, what, like, do you have like a target client, I guess, that you want to focus on? Like what, I guess, what part of the field would you want to be in? Like,
So,
wow.
in our world, we voice it as population. What population do you want to serve? I came quickly to know that I want to work with adults, predominantly the African American community,
Mm.
because therapy has been so stigmatized, within our community of you don't tell people your business
Right.
or
Right, yeah.
nobody needs to know your, if you go to a therapist, you have to be crazy. Like, no, I hate that stigma. I'm
Right.
trying to break that stigma. We need more of it, for
And,
more than one reason. Just on
and
a
plus
personal
those same
note,
people need somebody to, you know, someone like you to like get them. You know what I
Right.
mean?
yeah, also that there's a lacking. The fields has been so predominantly white for so long.
Right.
It's been
I
catered to white people for so long, and it actually kind of started under a racist pretense, just
Hmm.
slightly. So over time, people have been working to change that dynamic and to get more therapists of color, different minorities, just
right.
not just Black people that need therapists. We got, our Latina community, they still need, it's stigmatized there too. Essentially, Asian, Latino, and Black communities stigmatize therapy the most. To where
Oh,
it's like,
baby, it just you don't need
we're
none of
not
that
doing that.
therapist stuff. Just go come to church with me. We can pray to Jeebus
Yes,
about it. But
exactly,
Well,
exactly. You can have. I
I
was
was
gonna say
gonna
you can have
ask,
guidance therapy. Don't do.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna ask, because you were talking about, how, predominantly white the field is, coming up, uh, you know, I don't know, either at your school or maybe other peers you've met in the field. Have you seen more of an uptick in black professionals in your field?
Yes, the millennials are doing it. It's
hey,
mostly the millennials. My entire
Okay.
cohort for my graduating class with the masters, all of us were black with the exception of three people. Two people? Yeah, three
Oh
people.
wow.
Everybody else was black. And most cohorts are like from 15 to 20 people. I think we started with 18 and ended up with like 15, but
oh,
everybody
okay,
else was
damn.
black. Mhm.
That's like
Yeah,
Wow.
the
it's
majority
tough.
of the class graduated. Hey, shout out to you guys.
That's amazing.
Thank God. It was rough, but we made it.
See, that's the thing, man. People be like, Marcus, do you want to get your master's? Fuck no. I mean, it's not like I can. I just don't want to, man. Like, what? I'm tired of
I tell
PowerPoints.
any and everybody this. If your career of choice does not require, and I mean legally require, you to
Right.
go to school to do it, don't do
Right.
it. Don't do it. It's ironic, and we all talk about it. We laugh about it now, but it wasn't. The shit was not funny when we were going through it.
Right.
Yeah,
Our mental health was struggling going through the program.
I
So a
I'll
lot of us
bet.
were also in therapy while we were continuing to learn how to be a therapist. It was
was
crazy.
literally I was literally just thinking of that question. I was going to save it for later, but I guess I'll bring it up now.
Mhm.
How does a mental health professional go through, uh, easing their own mental health? Is that a hard process for you guys? Because how do you turn off the technical side of your brain?
It is so funny
Mm.
you asked that. Anybody in this profession, they're the absolute worst about going to get help for themselves. They will
Wow.
help everybody else and silently be suffering. It is very common in our field. But with my program, they emphasize the need of self care and just making sure that you need to be in tune with yourself and enough to know, like, hey, I'm having my own hard time. I can't help you right now.
Right.
And you have to be responsible enough to recognize that within yourself.
Right.
So therapists go to therapy too. They just can't,
Right.
treat themselves.
Mm.
People think like, oh, well, all this stuff. It's not that simple.
Right.
It's not that simple.
Right.
You're going to be biased to your own thought processes.
Right.
You're going to be biased to your own opinions. So you need somebody who doesn't know you and to just
Yeah.
listen and kind of pinpoint what's going wrong or what can be improved, essentially.
That idea that you just brought up about how people think that since you studied it, you know everything. It's not the same level, but like I'm a history major, and then like sometimes when I tell people that, and then people just think I know everything that happened in the universe. Like they'll be like, "Tell me what happened in 1783." I'm like, "I don't know." Like I
I'm,
don't.
I'm sure white people fucked something up. I don't. What you
Right.
want me to
Yeah,
say?
like I'm just like
Yeah,
I'm just
I
like
don't
I
know.
don't know. It was bad for us. That's all I know. Like don't ask me no
Real,
like why
go ahead.
like so I can not to the same extent. Obviously, y'all's is a way different extent, but I can kind of understand how like yeah people think that like oh well if you got the info you should just be able to handle it yourself or you should just know at the drop of the hat what to do like it's hard, to
No,
just be
Right.
put on the
absolutely
spotlight.
Like
not.
Brittany's gonna look at
Absolutely
herself in the
not.
mirror and just be like, "Hey, what's wrong? Tell us about it." Did you really
And
I
have to
I
mean,
respond
mean,
that way? You know, like
it's the same
I
thing for
do
lawyers.
no. Well, it's funny you say that. I do have conversations with myself like that sometimes. I'm able. I will say an advantage of it.
so you're a homelander. Okay.
It you if you're more in tune with yourself, you're able to kind of put yourself in check,
Hmm.
Right,
right? Or look at yourself introspectively to say, I didn't handle that right. Why
right,
did I do
Yeah.
that? Where did that really come from? What's going on with you?
Well, I was
You can,
gonna
Well, that's like maturity too, right?
right.
yeah. Also,
Well, I
I
was
feel like
gonna
you don't have to
ask
be a
too,
therapist to do that.
like what's how do you draw the line between constantly putting yourself in check and accidentally burying all your feelings down to the point that like
Mm,
you're ignoring your problem? You know what I mean? It's just like
Hmm.
at some point, like how do you know at what point to properly be like, okay, this is bigger than just a me thing. I need to go get outside help.
If what I'm trying is not working and I'm still experiencing the same feelings, emotions, thoughts, problem, you need help.
Right,
That's just a general rule from anybody. Whatever your
right,
coping mechanisms are, if what you normally do when you're depressed or feeling depressed is not working and you just notice you're stuck there, it's getting worse, you need assistance
mm,
because you need something new to kind of figure out what's going on and what's different. We do, I'll say I do. I know my peers do too. Now, for little stuff like stress management, you know the tips, you know the processes, those work. I can use that on myself. I don't have to go talk to a therapist to
right.
figure out
right,
how to manage my stress. But if I'm seriously dealing with something dark, deep, like if
right,
depressive symptoms came up, I would go see somebody else. If I could not manage it myself.
right. Now,
Mhm.
again, you as like a professional and everything. Now, is there a certain type of way that like mental health professionals have to go about looking for somebody else to talk to? Like, for instance, like you got to look for somebody who's been doing it longer than you, or you just pick anybody.
No, you can pick anybody, but most of us are going to pick somebody who's been doing it longer
Right,
than us. Like, I mean, if I'm struggling with telling me how I can figure this out and I've been doing it for X amount of years, I need somebody who's deeper in the game. That's just my
right,
my preference. Um, but no, we find therapists just like everybody else. We have to go through our insurance. There's no special privileges. There's no discounts.
Dang, I was gonna
Most of
say,
the yeah, no.
thought you just throw
Most
the
of the
card
time, you
up.
don't even want to tell. No, you don't even want to tell the therapist that you're a therapist. A lot of
right,
people will avoid that, but because apparently we can be the worst in session. Because you
Uh,
do this for a living, so you're trying
right.
to.
right.
People forget you're the client this time. Shut up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Listen.
What was like you probably low key like judging their game. It's like I wouldn't have said that. You know
Oh,
what
absolutely. I was
I
doing
mean?
it before I even got into my master's program. Like,
Wow.
Oh wow.
we went to premarital counseling, Royal and I, before we got married. So that was like, a good thing to see how that kind of thing works. And even in there, I'm just thinking like, would I have asked that question?
Mm.
Or why she do that? Or I get home and I'm like, you know what? She just let that go off. She didn't even explore that. Why did like that's probably the root of the problem. So yeah, it could be up for grabs. That's why you have to
Mm,
really find somebody you mesh with really well.
right.
Hmm. So yeah, what else I got?
Well, I guess I guess I mean you kind of already answered this, but I kind of want to go into just like generally everybody. What would you
Hmm.
say the average person obviously, like if an average person is looking for somebody to find to
Hmm.
talk to, obviously, besides being covered by their insurance, what should the average person look for in terms of finding a professional, to talk to?
That is a good question because I used to have to tell my clients this all the time. Finding a good therapist is a process.
Right.
It is a journey and a process, and it can be very frustrating because it's not like, I mean, kind of like with any doctor that you go see, you want their practices, their beliefs, their level of education to fit what you need and what you're looking
Right.
for.
Mhm.
And in this case, it's even more personal because you want somebody's personality and their therapist style to mesh with you.
Right.
There are some who are super professional. They, strictly by the book and they throw out this term and that term. And then you have people like me. I'm going to talk to you in session just like this.
Right.
What's wrong? What happened? Let's talk about it and we'll figure it out. So it's a range. You have to kind of pick your poison and kind of just test people out. I
Right.
always say do your research, look online, look at the reviews from past clients that they have.
Mm-hmm.
You can always judge a little bit by, most therapists will give you an intake session or even a
Okay.
consultation. And sometimes they're free, sometimes they're not. It just depends on the therapist or the agency that they work with. And you can kind of get a feel of their personality. Like, did you like talking to them for that 30 minutes that you spent talking to them? If you
Right.
didn't and you notice yourself not really wanting to answer their questions or not liking the tone that they were using when they were talking, then
Right.
you
Right.
probably don't
Yeah.
want to go through your entire
Right.
journey with them.
Okay.
You want to find somebody else. So
So
normally
you're
it's
like
kind of
shopping
like,
around, like yeah.
essentially, yes, you are.
Mm.
You have to, and that's what makes it so hard. Me and my friends talk about it all the time because they'll tell me like, I didn't know this was hard. I'm like, everybody isn't the same, so
Right.
Right.
you never know what you're gonna get until you have a conversation with that person. So yeah, that's what I would say. Just take your time, do your research, and ask around because somebody might
Right.
have a good resource that you could find some in, or they might, know other therapists that was great for them.
Right.
Hmm.
So like, are you currently working in the field now, or do you have to take a licensure exam before you can do anything? Like, what's
So it varies state to state how things happen. If I was in Georgia, I would probably be doing therapy right now, but working to get my license still. Now that I'm in Texas, the process is different. So I have to take the test first. Then I'm eligible to work to get my hours to be licensed. So I take
oh
the test
Wow.
next month. No.
okay.
I take the test next month. God willing, it goes well. Y'all wish me luck. And
Inshallah.
yeah. And after that, I would essentially work under a therapist, supervised for about 2.5 to 3 years.
Okay.
And then once they've signed off that I've collected all my hours, I can have my own license and I can do whatever I want.
Oh wow.
Okay. So you have to like, so you got to pass the test, then you got to get some hours, preferably under like you basically being an apprentice
It's
for
kind
like
of
a
like
couple of years.
residency, how like
Yeah.
dentists and
Yeah, I
doctors
was just
go through
about to say
residency.
it sounds like a residency. Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. So we
Yeah.
get paid not as much as you normally would. You
Right.
get paid to do it, but your goal is
Right.
just to collect those hours and to gain that experience so that you know what you're doing when you're out there on your own. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder
Yeah,
though,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I kind of wonder, like, when you start talking to people, like, would it be hard to like control your face? Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's say like you have a client, and obviously you're not gonna say this out loud about your client, but maybe like in the back of your mind, you just know they're just full of shit. You just look at you just looking at them like tell their story. You know they're lying to you, and you just like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
are you fucking
I,
sick? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
uh-huh.
what if you did
Uh-huh.
that to them?
That was my biggest concern. Like when you first get into your master's program, at least for my program, the first thing they ask is, "What's your biggest concern as a therapist? Like, what do you think is going to be wrong?" And that was the first thing I said. I was like, "I don't know if I'm gonna be able to control my face. My face will tell a story."
We're like, girl.
Actually, we ended up practicing that in class.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh
in the
wow.
program, we practice how to do therapy on each other. Your classmate or whatever. But that's a part of it. The teacher's monitoring your face to make sure you're not making anything outrageous or obvious, and you kind of learn how to roll with the wild stuff because you hear some of everything, some of anything.
Right.
And it's okay to show some emotion. Like if they say something shocking, it's okay to, have wide
Right.
eyes and like, oh my
Oh,
God.
okay, yeah, that's also the same because
Um,
they say something, you might be like,
well,
you
it
know,
depends. You don't want to be offensive either. Because if they're
mm.
telling you
Right.
something and it's wild, you don't want to be like, oh, but if it's something that happened to them, like let's say they say something wild happened to them, you can be like, dang, I can't believe that happened to you. Like, oh
Right.
my God, we could talk about it that way. Versus
Okay, yeah.
I did this and it was wild. You don't want to be like,
Right.
you did
Well,
what?
well, speaking of stuff like that, I was about, I guess they, I don't know. You always hear different stuff on TV or whatever, but like, I guess that since you're in the profession, what
Mhm.
is what categories of stuff that if somebody tells you that you like have to act on?
Have to act
Mm.
on.
Yeah.
So all therapists are mandated reporters.
Okay.
If you tell us anything about you wanting to harm yourself or
Right.
like commit suicide or harm somebody else,
Right.
anything like child abuse, elderly abuse, we have to report that. Like,
Okay.
and that's normally discussed before. That should be discussed. If you go to a
Right.
therapist and they don't tell you this, you need to leave.
Right.
So there should be, before you get into the meat and potatoes of your situation, there
Right.
should be something that's called limits of confidentiality, and they'll
Right.
give that spiel however they do, letting you know that what's okay, that it will never leave the room, and the things that they'll actually have to report. But
Now,
it could get deep because we
right.
were asking in school, like, yeah, somebody could come to you and be like, I killed somebody 2 years ago, and I buried the body, and it's been bothering me. And no, we don't have to. We don't call the police. We're just like, okay,
Oh, okay. Wow.
tell
So
me,
it has to
tell
be
me
like
more
an
about this.
active crime, like
Or now, if
okay.
you tell me you killed somebody yesterday, all right, I'm gonna have to call the police. It's kind of sticky though, to an extent.
I was
Or if
about to
you're like,
say,
I'm
is it?
gonna go kill my brother tonight, like I have to go tell them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Now, do you tell them or do you tell the police?
both in certain circumstances. So let's say I knew someone, or someone came to me in therapy, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I want to kill Marcus. Like he's been getting on my nerves." I have to try to find a way to alert authorities to get in contact with you, to let you know that somebody is out to murder you, one.
Right.
And then two, of course, the authorities are going to try to find this person and
Right.
apprehend them, or
Mm.
put them on a temporary hold, because sometimes it's just the heat of the moment and
Right.
emotions. Sometimes
Right.
it's mental illness. It just depends. But the whole goal of that is to ensure nobody
Right.
gets murdered after they did
Well,
that.
no, now you brought up heat of the moment. That's why I was wondering too. Like, so what if somebody says they're having thoughts of hurting somebody? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So that kind of goes, and it just depends. Because, we'll say stuff out of anger, like,
right,
oh, I could kill this person. You
right.
don't literally mean you want to kill them, but
Well,
you're
like,
just that mad.
Right.
There's a difference between that and nah, I want to kill him. So there's a series of questions that we go
right.
through to see exactly
It's
how
like
serious you are
now
about
when
this
you
Right.
say
threat.
kill, what do you mean? Like, you gotta hit them with that. Like,
No,
Right.
no, seriously, you do. Like, do you mean like in their life? They're not breathing anymore? Like, and if they're
And
like,
like,
yeah.
say, I'd imagine it's the same with suicidal thoughts too, right? Is it like there's a difference between I've thought about doing it and I'm
Mhm.
thinking about doing it tonight, right?
mm,
Yes, there's a level of intensity there, because just
Right.
because you have the thought, like, I can't do this anymore, I want to end my life, but you haven't thought about when, where, how. You're
Right.
not certain on it. It's just like, I can't take this, but you're just really depressed and you feel hopeless about it.
Right.
That is not grounds for you to necessarily be hospitalized or,
Right.
held against your will or anything. But if you are, most people who are in that kind of spot,
Right.
and they're not 1,000% certain that's what they want to do, but they really feel like it could happen if they're
Right.
alone, they're
mm,
gonna take the help anyway.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
gonna, do what you can to keep me from doing this.
right.
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 Okay. No, that's interesting. And when you said the thing too about like uh you had that example. I know you was kind of joking, but you said like, oh, like I killed somebody 2 years ago and buried them in the woods or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said that you don't necessarily gotta tell the police about that. Now, is that up to the the professional's discretion, or is that literally with it like in y'all's code of
So our
ethics or
limits
whatever?
of
That
confidentiality are that strong. Like, it's it's
oh
it's so intense to the point that even when the court wants to subpoena our records, it's iffy. The board of
Mm,
the National Board of Counselors, or whoever you report to, are like, wait a minute, there's limits to what we can give you, and even still, you
right,
need to call them to make sure that you can release what you're going to release, because it could
wow,
be full liability on you. You could cause harm to the person. It could just be a mess. It could be really, really ugly.
oh
So the
wow,
limits of, you can tell your therapist damn near anything and
yeah.
not worry about somebody else finding out or knowing, as long as you're not actively trying to do something.
Hey, that's better than
oh
going to confession. Man. Shit.
I mean, essentially, yeah, it's along those
yeah, that's
lines.
that's
But
that's like
so,
interesting because like when I first asked this question, I brought up like stuff on TV, like granted it's TV and they make stuff up, but
mhm.
like well, if you go on based on TV, they make it seem like if you go in there and tell them you did something at any point in time, they gonna go straight to the police and you go to jail that night. You know what I mean? Like,
No, it would have to. There are so many pieces involved. So one, somebody would have to know that you actually told a therapist. They would have
right,
to know what therapist you told.
right.
And it could go as far as if that therapist is no longer in practice and they don't even have the notes anymore.
Mm.
Oh well.
Mm,
Yeah, it's like
that's
it's like a dead end.
Oh well.
that's
Sorry.
crazy.
Can't
That's
help you. Like
that's
it could be that
crazy.
deep.
Yeah, I wonder,
People,
like, there's probably like a whole bunch of therapists who actually know, like, who like these cold cases that's out here. Like, there's probably
it's
like a bunch of
possible.
therapists who just
Well,
know who did it. It's like, damn, ain't that
that's
some
not
shit?
necessarily true because
Okay,
if you're gonna be like a serial killer or a real murderer, like it wasn't no one-off instance where you were trying to
Yeah,
protect yourself and just got away with it by chance. Those type of people aren't necessarily coming to therapy to talk
I was
about.
about to
oh
say,
no,
yeah.
oh no. I mean, I'm just talking about just a murder from like a long time ago or some shit. Like, just be like,
Oh,
damn, well, like you know the backstory and all that. Just like, oh well, like
there's
the
somebody out
news.
here that does. There's somebody out here that does, and they can't tell a soul.
Right. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure back in the 50s, there's probably always somebody who knew who the Black Dahlia killer was. They just did. Well, now, never
It's
mind.
very
They probably
possible.
fit the.
that's
It's
crazy.
possible. It is possible. We
That's
hear a lot, and that's why it's even more important for therapists to take care of themselves because
right.
the things people tell a therapist.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
ask that, like, because depending on how many sessions you have a day, like,
It
because
can get
during my internships with Decatur PD, like, they say like the thing that causes police officers to have bad mental health is like they're always a part of somebody's bad day. So you're
hmm
repeatedly, depending on what type of people you're treating, you might be repeatedly hearing like the most traumatic, fucked up shit like of
I
all
will say
time,
this.
So
I had to do my internship. I did my internship in a hospital by choice. So I worked in a psychiatric hospital. Those were some of the darkest stories I've ever heard in my life.
wow.
Just every day, constantly, just dark,
Yeah,
dark. And that's another reason it kind of took me to a place of where, like, good Lord, this world is trash. Like, people are
right,
trash. It's just horrible. And you kind of have to be aware of that so that
right,
you don't get so jaded and your worldview doesn't get warped to
mm,
the point to where you can't help anymore. You can't be of assistance.
right,
And that situation taught me that I do enjoy that. The work is very rewarding, but I could not do that every day. I can't work
mm.
in a psychiatric hospital every day. My plan is to actually be like one of my former supervisors. She has her own practice, and then she also works part time in the hospital. So she does both. She gets a bit of both.
Okay.
Most people who are coming to therapy on a regular, they're talking about depression, anxiety, family issues, some family trauma, stuff like that, that you can,
right.
dissect piece by piece, moment by moment. People in the hospital, they either just tried to kill themselves,
Mm,
tried to kill somebody else, have
wow.
a mental illness. With the kids, they've been, they ran away, maybe they were molested,
Uh,
abused, neglected, just treated horribly in a sense. And my hospital served, they did adults, we had kids and an elderly population, as well as drug and alcohol abuse
Mm.
units.
okay.
So I saw some of everything. And there were days where I had to leave early because I was crying and I couldn't handle it.
I bet.
Wow.
There were days, it happened. It happened. And you just had to roll with the punches and be able to take it. I think that portion of the program will let you know, are you ready for this or not?
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but that
Now,
is a good thing that you got introduced to it early, so you
right.
could
Now,
give
do you
Oh
have
yourself
to
an
make
yeah.
answer.
sure you got to now? Like, I'd imagine one of the big things is making sure you don't show that emotion in front of the patients,
Correct.
right?
That is a
Hmm.
huge portion.
Yeah.
It's just like if a doctor, let's say you went to the doctor, you went and you got tests. Now, if they walked in looking at their chart like, God damn, let me see your the first thing you're gonna do is panic. Like,
Nigga, you
what's
dying.
wrong with me? Right? Like, what's
Lord,
bothering
you
me?
got all that?
That's not what you want to do. So if somebody's telling you these things, it's okay to be human in the fact that you're acknowledging, damn, that's
Hmm.
fucked up. But
Right.
you don't
Right.
want to be in there boohoo crying with them, and
Right.
that is not effective. That's not helpful.
That's funny.
So you really have to be in check and in control of your emotions. And what we call it is compartmentalizing.
Right.
So in the moment, you're like thinking, "Oh my God," and your time to process and deal with that on your own is after you're done talking to them.
Right.
In the moment, you have to remember you're here for this
See,
person.
Big John says
So,
your audio is going in and out, but I mean, I'm hearing everything you're saying.
I was about to say
oh,
I could hear. I don't know.
Oh,
oh,
the rest of chat, let us know what's going on. If
Yeah.
not, it could
yeah.
just be a Big John
Can
thing.
y'all hear me?
Yeah. Now, I know I mentioned TV earlier. I gotta ask. I don't know how much you watch, but like, uh, what would you say? What shows or movies would you say has presented your profession both either the best or worst or both?
The best. I don't watch a lot of TV that has
Right.
like psychological pretenses, even though I do enjoy psychological thriller movies because it's always like, "Ooh, what's wrong with
Yeah.
him?" So, and we had to do a lot of that in school too, to kind of get practice to see if we knew what to look for with certain things.
Uh-huh.
So I would say show wise, This Is Us did really good with
I still gotta
showing
watch that.
realistic therapy sessions.
Okay.
It did. They did a very good job of talking about mental health, incorporating therapy, and what it could actually be like in a potential session for somebody. Worst, there are more on that list. I can't even pinpoint when they're
I was
so
about to
bad.
say it was
Like
probably real bad.
I was gonna bring
it
up
is.
Empire. Cause god damn,
Nah,
like where the
oh
fuck them
no.
niggas get their
I've
license from?
gotten. I haven't watched all of Empire. I think I fell off after like season 2, so I'm not even. But they
Okay.
Yeah,
brought therapy in.
yeah.
I wasn't even aware.
We should have fell
What did
off
they
after.
do? Give me an example of what they do.
Okay,
Oh, go
there were
ahead.
so many bad ones on there. I'm trying to think.
I mean,
What
well,
was the
fucking their
first?
patient one. I mean,
Wait, what's the?
because
Oh,
Listen,
Jamal's drug like
oh no!
listen.
Remember, Andre's doctor was getting paid off by the rich people's family, and he was like prescribing him like he was supposed to be giving him like antipsychotic meds or something, and I swear they was like just placebos, and he had like a full on psychotic break.
So those are horrible, and both of those people would lose their license in a heartbeat.
yeah.
In real
Or
life, in real life,
Or
if they
Jennifer
got
Hudson's
caught.
character praying. I'm like, what the fuck? You praying on him? Like you didn't even
well,
ask.
I think that was
Like,
So
part of her job though,
but
wasn't
no,
it?
there
she was
are
like
some.
she was a like she was like a legit psychologist. But I was just like, damn, you didn't
There
even
are
ask
faith-based,
first.
but there are
Right, that's what I was saying. I
faith-based
think wasn't she supposed to be
therapists.
like a faith-based psychologist or
Oh,
whatever?
oh, was she?
If she was, that's normally common
Okay,
because
yeah,
if you're coming to a faith-based therapist, you should be expecting to be incorporating God
Right,
somewhere in your therapy. If that's
right.
not your steez, then you don't go to a
you see,
faith-based
son, it's
Although,
that
therapist.
goddamn homosexuality that's in you. That's your real problem.
or
Let's
I
although
mean,
although
you never know.
I will say where Jennifer Hudson messed up was she completely threw away her career to become
oh yeah,
a quasi gospel singer under Empire, and then she never came back after
oh
season
yeah.
one.
She
So,
saw that money and dip.
See,
nah,
that's why I'm
what
not
was
watching that show.
what's that actress's name? She's like a famous actress, Debbie Moore. Remember her character came in? She was supposed to be helping like Lucius with
Oh
his memory
yeah, she
loss,
was.
and then she
She
like fell in love with him, and then she kidnapped him. It
Okay,
was
those are
all
all
yeah,
horrible examples of
that's what I
faith-based.
meant. That's why I brought up Empire because they're like just
they
to the
was doing stuff
extreme.
on that. Yeah, no, they don't. If you don't want to lose your mind over your profession, don't watch that
Hey,
because they was
Say
doing
less.
y'all
I
wrong on
won't.
there.
I won't.
They,
yeah, I mean
That is
you ain't
not
missed
how it
much.
goes.
the only thing close to a competent therapist on there, he wasn't even no therapist. It was the pastor dude. Remember, like he wasn't even no therapist. He was the only
That's
thing
sad.
close to
Hey, yo,
being good.
Brandon. Like, I guess like according to what Brittany told us, like, I guess how realistic would you say Tony's therapist is from The Sopranos?
Uh, okay. Based on again, I don't know if I asked that many in-depth questions to answer this, but so from The Sopranos, I'll say she was pretty cool in the first season, I guess. But then when she agrees to take him back, that's when it's just like, cause, cause the issue is like she she may not know all the details, but she knows he's actively committing crimes on the regular, and yet she keeps letting him back in the office to talk about it. And she allows him to lie in his sessions so that he technically won't say specific details of the crimes.
Yeah, no. I've seen a few episodes of The Sopranos, and that like her working with him, and there were a lot of things I saw. I was like, that's inappropriate. That's inappropriate. That's not even ethical. What is she doing?
I mean,
Yeah, I'm like, people do. I mean, granted, a lot of these people writing these scenarios, these scenes, they've never been to therapy. They have no
Right.
idea what it's supposed to be like. So
right.
it's whatever they heard or thought they saw on a TV
But
or
you
in a
would think
movie.
they'd have consultants, though. That's the thing. Like, you would think they'd have some sort of consultants. Like,
If you care about presenting things that realistically, you would.
right.
Because you'll find that regardless of anything. Like, let's say when people portray the military in a show
Right.
or a movie, you'll have military personnel saying that ain't right, that ain't
Yeah,
right, that's
yeah.
illegal, we don't do that. They ain't even got their uniform on right. So
But
it
but
just
you know what
depends.
though? It's like especially like after I became a history major and started watching some of my old famous like favorite like historical movies and stuff, I kind of got to a place, and I don't know if you feel this way too about like how they present your field in media. It's just like if you critique stuff all the time, you're not gonna like nothing. You know what I mean? So you kind of just like
Yeah,
for
you gotta
real,
let
you're
it
not
rock.
gonna like
That
like
is also true. That
that's
is
like
also
it's like you
true.
said, what people with the military don't be like military dudes who like complain about action movies with the type of guns and stuff. I'll be like, bruh, like you gotta realize they don't care. Like
Yeah,
you're shouting at a wall. You're you're
because
shouting at a
I
wall.
You
well,
know,
not to sound like a Mel Gibson lover, but I love The Patriot. Then I found out how inaccurate it was. I was like, oh well, shit. This movie's ruined.
but see, that's the problem. People will watch those things, not do any of their own research on
Right,
anything, and then make assumptions about an entire topic of life based on what they saw on a movie or a
right,
TV show. And it's like, that's
yeah.
not how that goes.
I
It's
mean,
not.
honest to God, like I told you that, I thought about doing psychology until I took Psych 101. The only reason why I wanted to do it because I used to watch Criminal Minds when I was in high school. I said, I
That's
can do
crazy.
that.
I took an intro psych class in high school, so I was for sure ready. I knew.
I took psychology. Well, we had a psychology course in my high school, but let's just say our teacher, he wasn't exactly the best. We mainly just worked out of a textbook.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, that was one of them classes where we was just like, we just gonna hang out here for 44 minutes rather than
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
easy.
yeah,
no.
Hey,
yeah,
but
we
you
was
know,
Yeah.
chilling.
My
Brittany,
class
I got.
wasn't like
Oh, go
that
ahead.
though. We had AP psychology, so
Woo,
Ooh, AP,
no.
goddamn.
We were learning. We were actually learning, and
So,
I was
so,
excited.
woo.
so, Brittany, now that you say that, do you remember any of the like some of those famous experiments that they talked about, like specifically the Milgram one? I think it was Milgram. It was like the one where like he had the subjects like thinking that there's somebody on the other side getting shocked if they answer the question wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that one?
Mm-hmm. I don't
Okay.
remember all the details of it, but it does sound familiar for sure.
Ah, dang. See, I was talking to
No, go
somebody.
ahead. Keep
Oh no, I was
no,
gonna
keep go
ask
ahead.
like so like the details were basically like like say Brandon is a subject and I'm just an
Mm-hmm.
actor. I'm behind the wall and there's like a guy in a lab coat saying, "All right, Brandon, ask Marcus these questions. If he gets it wrong, gonna press that button. He's gonna shock him." I answer a question wrong on purpose. He has to shock me because the guy in the laptop coat told
Yeah,
him to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's how it goes. And like eventually, like it's pretty much testing, like say like you'll press that button now, and he thinks that like he's shocking me harder. You know what I'm saying? But he's
Mm-hmm.
still doing it. So I just want to know, like, because I want to make sure I'm not getting the experiment wrong. Like, was the point of it to kind of say like I guess we naturally follow authority or something? Like, what was?
So I don't remember enough of the details of that experiment to say his purpose. But what I will say is back then, experiments were completely unethical.
Oh yeah.
And that is why we have the rules and the boards that we have now. Like you should not be putting people in harm or pretending to put people in harm in order to form a conclusion about how people think and how they interact.
Yeah, because that was the issue
So,
with like the Stanford
yeah.
prison experiment, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That was the one that sticks out the most in my mind because it was horrendous. And those
yeah,
people who participated in that experiment probably did need a lifetime of therapy after going through that. Because it wasn't an experiment to them, it was their real
And that
life.
was the and that was the one where it was like one was like there was like supposed to be like one were prison guards, others were prisoners, and the prison guards got like extra abusive.
Yep, it was crazy. And they allowed all kind of things to happen. So early psychology, thankful for it in a way, but also shame on them. So, they shouldn't have been doing some of the things that they
Yeah,
were doing. And
there
if
were
you were to
experiments
guess,
on
they'd be
kids,
in
like
jail.
yeah. Cause I remember, yeah, those experiments on kids back in them days, and I heard like those child participants, they were like messed up for the rest of their life. Some of the things
right.
that they had to
Yeah,
go through.
yeah. Nah, from
Absolutely.
what I remember my psychology courses, yeah, I read about some of the experiments. It's just like, whew, like,
Yeah. And you learn, and it got even worse and even deeper. Like, as we read a bunch of books in our master's program, I mentioned earlier how the field essentially started on racist pretenses. The whole point was initially to prove that white people were smarter than black people. That was the whole point of the intro of Psych to this world. Is to say that white people's brains are bigger than black people's brains,
yep,
and they're the
good
most
old,
It's
good
intelligent.
old
like,
scientific racism.
hold on, it's
That
like,
is
damn,
that is
like you were so desperate to like cause harm that you
Mhm.
accidentally did a net good.
Yes,
God
and
damn.
it was insane to what we read that was allowed. Like these scientists or therapists or whoever made up data. They made it up. They had no proof, no nothing.
Yep.
But because at that time people weren't as suspicious of authority as they are today. Like the government could say something and most people are like, wait a minute, what
Right.
the hell? But back then, if it came from a doctor, oh, it has to be true. If it came from the president, oh my God, it had to be
Mm-hmm.
true. Like they would never lie to us.
Well, I mean
So,
that and its confirmation bias too, right? You know,
oh, absolutely,
it was
absolutely,
already racist white people who heard that, and then they was just like, "See, I do it." What, like, you know?
absolutely. And they would do stuff like give tests to. They would take a test, and black schools back then were not equivalent to white schools in
Right.
terms of the supplies that they had and all the information that
Excuse
they were
me.
able to obtain. It wasn't equivalent. It wasn't fair. So they would give a test, like a standardized test, to both black and white children. The white children probably reviewed this stuff in a
Right.
class this year. Some of the stuff the black kids never even seen because they don't even have that textbook in their school. But you expect them to pass this test. So then they look at the score and say, oh, see, look, I told you, all black kids fail. They got to be done. And that's kind of how it just started. And it was warped from
And,
there. And it's been a journey from that point on,
you know, it's
getting good.
oh no, I was gonna say like even today, like cause I be into YouTube a lot, so I like watching like
Mm-hmm.
political YouTubers, and even to this day, you got like Nazi YouTubers like, well, you see the blacks, their IQ is lower than us white. You be like, dog, come on,
I hear
man,
stuff like that and I
get
laugh
your
because
mind out of 18.
the reality of it to me is that you're the one with the low
Right.
intelligence. So, okay, do you? Do you?
Yeah,
It is what
that's
it is, right?
Well, dang. Okay. Well, shout out to psychology with this racist beginning. See, now I can see Tariq
Yeah.
Nasheed going like, "See, brother, do you know psychology was invented by some white man? So that's why you shouldn't go to psychology. You should actually buy my new book." Like,
No. And then we got to throw Dr. Umar in there because
oh
he'll
my
tell you.
gosh. But he's a
He'll let
psychologist.
you know.
Well, I mean,
man. Doctor Umar's fake doctorate. He will create a doctorate of psychology.
And
and
there
that's
are
a
things like that because you have Dr. Phil. So people like Dr. Phil, he used to be licensed.
yeah,
Once
Yeah,
you get into the business of doing things on camera or publicly, you can't use your license anymore.
right.
So technically you get to keep the title doctor because you have your PhD.
Yeah, because he went to
But
school for it.
he's no longer a licensed psychologist or therapist. He's not
That's the one.
licensed.
That's the one lesson I remember from my high school psychology class. It was in our
Yeah,
textbook. They said that man is not no doctor
Oh, yeah,
no
no.
more.
No, he's not. Cannot
And
give therapy, and I
well,
hope
well, and
people
aren't
are.
his methods like really like antiquated too?
They are. I don't like Dr. Phil. I've never been a fan of Dr. Phil. Just
Yeah,
like because he takes the therapy out of it, and which is
yeah,
prime example as to why he's no longer a therapist. That is not how therapy goes. And the
yeah.
way that he asks his questions, you can't ask things like that. You can't say
Yeah,
things like that
he
to a
be leading
person.
like fuck too. He be like, so you mean to tell me that you were just alone in her room and didn't do anything? I don't know. You know, I was just like,
You can't do that. You can't do like that's
or
unacceptable
the
when
way
you
he be
feel.
screaming at people too. Like
oh yeah, no.
it's one thing to hold somebody accountable, but it's another thing to just be straight in their face screaming. He be calling people idiots and stuff like that.
You can't do that.
I mean, but I accepted he was entertainment, like even like in high school. I was like, yeah, okay,
That is
no,
all it is.
like,
Entertainment.
but I think it goes to your point that like that some people see that and don't know he's
mhm.
just entertainment.
That
Like
is true.
people think he's just a legit doctor,
That
and
is
that's
true. I
yeah.
have legit had people come in session with me mentioning something Dr. Phil or Oprah said, and I'm like, baby, hold on. Let's back up.
Does it
Well,
look like I give
Oprah
a fuck?
Oprah's even worse because everybody knows she ain't no doctor. How
Right.
did you get
But
confused on that one?
because people will hear or gravitate to people that they feel are motivational or
Hmm.
inspirational. And they're like, it has to be true. What they're saying has to be right. It has to be working. So I must try it. And it's not like that. That's not the case.
Yeah, because
So,
you got your psychologist, like Mrs. Banks here, and then you also got those life coach types, which
wait. I ain't a psychologist yet.
not
Don't
yet,
start.
Oh,
not yet.
nah.
I'm speaking it into it. I'm what
Look,
do the kids say?
speaking into
Manifesting. I'm
existence,
manifesting.
absolutely.
Yes.
Look,
There we
I had
go.
to correct you because
Yeah, I know
there's a
legal.
specific
Yeah,
clause.
they
They were like, you said you were
yeah.
a what?
Yeah,
No,
thank
no,
you
no,
for
no,
that.
no.
Yeah, we're
Master's
manifesting
level therapist.
government.
I am a master's level therapist
Master's
right
level
now.
therapist. There we go. So we got
Absolutely.
master's level therapists like Brittany here, but then we got those life coach types, which some of them are cool, but yeah, they are definitely
But you know, I
personality.
can't knock people because with life coaching, it kind of takes the reins off, and you can do both. I learned that in school. You can do
Oh,
both, so I
word?
probably would do
Okay.
both. You can do life coaching and therapy, but you have to
Keep it
be
separate.
very diligent in separating the two. You can't be trying to use therapeutic practices in a life coaching session and vice versa, like that.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, there's money in both. Absolutely.
Okay, straight up. So we're gonna see posters of Brittany on it's like
On
come
the
to our
highway,
seminar. Like
hopefully, maybe one day we'll see. That'd be cool.
And you gonna get your own show. You gonna be with Dr. Phil.
I don't want to show. I do not want to show. I want to help people and let that be it.
well, I
We
mean, at
all
least like
found out like, oh, this was her nonprofit, and that's what she did. That's great. I could be known for that, but I don't want
at
to be
least
on
do like one
TV.
of those like local like one of them like local channels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those
Oh,
types
for
of channels that
sure.
Reverend X was on or something like this.
Yeah, I may have a podcast. There's actually a therapist that I admire
Hey,
deeply, and I want to be like her. Her name's Dr. Joy Bradford. She's actually in Atlanta, and she founded Therapy for Black Girls. She has her own podcast. She does conferences. She talks at like Essence festivals and stuff like
oh
that. I wouldn't
nice.
mind doing
Oh,
that
that's
on
cool.
that level. Yeah, she's great.
And the
Very great.
organization is called Therapy for Black Girls.
Yes, free plug for her
Okay,
because
there we go.
I refer a
Shit,
lot
they
of
need
people
it.
there. Look at that. Look at you. You said they. We
I
all
mean, we
do.
all do, but yeah, but uh, y'all need it
So
the most.
therapy for Black girls is a is a resource that you can find therapists, Black therapists. Guys can use it too. It's literally if you go to her website, you'll see it. It's a directory for Black therapists all over the United States. That's what it is essentially. And then she has her podcast, which is also called Therapy for Black Girls.
Okay, that's what's up.
Oh, nice. Well, we're running up on the 5 minute mark. Is there any closing statements you would like, Brittany? We want you to have the last word.
Last word. I would just like to tell any and everybody who's watching to, be open to therapy. Yes, they do have therapy for Black men too. Someone put that in the comments. That is, it's not her brand, but somebody created it with the like that mindset to put more therapists on there. So I would just tell anybody to be open. Be open. If you need the help, seek the help because it's out there, and just not to give up. Don't give up.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, and that's the biggest message most of us want to push is don't give up because it gets tough for a lot of people, and you feel like there's no way out or nothing's gonna change. And the truth is, it's not true. Give it time, and most things can get better. Most things can
Right.
get better.
That's
So
great.
yeah, that's
I
pretty
love
much.
that. Also, you got any shout outs?
Well, shout out to y'all.
Thank you.
And I saw some of my friends and cousins and chiming in. Hey, y'all, I've been gone now. I see Kobe still there. Royal, he was here. He left. Hey, baby. Bye, baby.
It's like I popped in and out.
Right.
Brittany, thank you for donating your time to the SOS podcast. Thank you for enlightening me on the racist
Absolutely.
beginnings. I did not know that before the
Mm.
podcast, and this is
I
what it's all about: learning,
Yes. Yes, it
talking,
is. It
and
was a shocker.
and
No, it's
telling
not really. It's
stories.
not.
Like
Yeah.
hearing
Yep.
stories that need to be heard. And we
Yes.
hope you
Thank you for
come
having me.
back. We hope you come back for more
Absolutely.
topics too. You sound like
For
a very fun
sure.
person.
Yeah.
And yeah, we definitely got to have you on more episodes, man. We got to have debate episodes, something, anything. All right.
Okay. Sure. Absolutely. I'll be glad to come
All right.
back.
All right, everybody. Thank you for
We're gonna
joining
react.
us.
We're all gonna react to an episode of Dr. Phil.
Oh, that'd be good, actually. All right.
That could be.
All right,
All right.
everybody.
Peace.
Bye, guys.